Hello, everybody. JB Portillo here. Welcome to the show. Hi, we're here today with the Garden Show, and we have, I'm going to say old favorite. I don't mean that like you're old, Tony, but, you know, a really guy that knows his stuff. Young at heart. This is Tony LiCausi, and I believe everybody knows you, but just in case they don't, Tony came to us from Dallas, where actually he was in fashion design or fashion whatever. He dressed the
fashion world.
The fashion world. And now he has a very fashionable garden. He is a master gardener. He's also with the garden club. So our topic today is going to be really fun. It's going to be about pest and disease control the natural way. We're going to get to that in a minute. But right now, let's thank the Garden Club and the Master Gardeners for sponsoring the show.
Yes.
Yeah. So more about that later. We're going to be, one other thing I'd like to tell you about, we've got the fair coming up, 121st Fair.
Really?
Yes, in Benton County. It's coming up September the 19th through the 27th. And the Master Gardeners pretty much manage that, don't they? They do the... What do we do there? We are for the flowers, the horticulture, the veggies, the whole thing.
All of that.
Yes. And last night.
And the biggest pumpkin.
And the biggest pumpkin. Yes, all of that stuff.
It's always fun.
It's always fun. But today, let's get going here because there's way more to talk about than what we have available. But what you did, you polled the garden club and asked for the biggest issues. What'd you do?
Yeah, well, you know, when I heard that we wanted to do that show, we wanted to do it on pest and disease controls, and there's tens of thousands of pests and thousands of diseases, and you can't do it all in 30 minutes.
No.
So I polled the garden club members to what was their number one pest problem and their number one disease problem, and compiled it, and those are the ones we're going to talk about today.
Okay, so what's the first one?
And how to manage those things
manage them?
without using chemicals, doing it the natural way.
You know, I have to tell you this, because when I called Tony and said, what are we going to do? And he told me, and he said, I asked him, I said, well, what's the natural way? And he said, just step on them, which is not what we're going to do today.
Works.
It works. But go ahead and tell us, what's the first thing you want to talk about?
Well, the number one thing that people want to know about was powdery mildew. That was one thing. And blight on a scale, that crepe myrtle scale. Mm-hmm. And just funguses in general on their hollies, on their hydrangeas. And so the number one thing that I do when I have a fungus on a plant is I make cornmeal tea, okay?
You make all kinds of teas.
Yeah.
I know about your coffee, but cornmeal?
Cornmeal. And we've done this at the extension office. We had some rose bushes there that were in terrible shape, and we did a cornmeal juice where we make, you know, cornmeal tea with cornmeal and spray the plants. But in that case, because they were highly diseased, those plants were in terrible shape, we added a cup of milk per gallon of water to the compost tea, and the plants came back and they looked beautiful.
Milk and corn.
Well,
Weird.
you know, you probably don't know this or not, but back when early settlers first got here, they didn't have a Lowe's or a Home Depot to go to.
They didn't?
No,
or Walmart.
No Walmart, no Bumgarth, none of that. So if they got toenail fungus sitting in their little log cabin at night in the middle of the winter, they did have some corn and some cornmeal, and they made that up in a little tub of water and sat by the fire with their feet in the water, because cornmeal is a natural fungicide.
Really?
Yes.
So it works on plants too?
Correct.
Okay.
So anyway, so that's one of my go-to things. Compost tea makes for a healthier plant. Hydrogen peroxide. But there is a commercial plant on the product rather on the market. It's called Plant Wash, And if you don't see it in the store, you can definitely just Google it and order it online from a number of people. Plant wash. It's really good for getting rid of a lot of diseases and funguses, and it's not a toxic chemical.
Not to your pets
right.
or to you. Yes.
But then, no matter what you use on these kinds of problems, you start off by cleaning up underneath the plant, because most of these types of problems, disease problems, start from the soil and work their way up. So if you can clean up the soil and treat, as a matter of fact, when you make the cornmeal tea and you spray the plant with the cornmeal juice, okay, you're now going to have a knit bag full of the cornmeal that was soaking overnight in the water. So you want to empty that out and spread it out underneath that rose bush too, to kill all that bad bacteria and pathogens that are underneath that shrub. So clean up first, then treat on top, then treat on bottom.
So what's the proportions of water in cornmeal?
Oh, you'd use 1 cup to a gallon of water.
Okay.
In a net bag, soak it overnight, go out in the morning. Early in the morning is when you want to do any kind of foliar type applications, whether it's fertilization or disease control or whatever. You want to do it first thing in the morning, and then the leftover that's in the bag, spread it out underneath the plant.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, what else you got, Tony?
This is my
These are his cue cards here.
These are my cue cards.
And by the way, he's in witness protection. That's why the sunglasses.
That's
not
true.
Really, but.
Because they're called old eyes. The next biggest problem seemed to be about grubs and armadillos, and one needs the other. If you didn't have the grubs, you wouldn't have the armadillos. Or you'd have the armadillos, you wouldn't have the big problem. Matter of fact, our past president of the Bella Vista Garden Club and now our regional director had a huge problem with, because her yard's flat, it's beautiful, she has gardens all around the house on all 4 sides, and you know who I'm talking about. And she called me one night and she said the armadillos for some reason are just tearing her up. So I told her to call Arbico, ARBICO, over in the Tucson area. They have biological controls. They sent her beneficial nematodes. She put out the beneficial nematodes when I instructed her to do it in early spring prior to a big rainfall. She hasn't had one armadillo hole this year.
So explain to the folks that don't know what a nematode is.
It's a soil-borne macroorganism. It's not micro, it's macro. So you could see it without a magnifying glass, but even with a cheap one, you can see them better. And they attack and eat the grubs in the soil.
Gotcha.
Okay. And these grubs are that's the larvae of June bugs.
Right.
Okay. And I think most people know that.
Yeah.
So they're always my number one go-to for that problem, because you get rid of the grubs, you get rid of the armadillos. If they don't smell them, they don't dig. Aeration is another important thing, is aerating your lawn. Another thing that works well, to believe it or not, to get rid of them, is to use molasses, either dry granules broadcast out or liquid molasses that you put in water and then spray it.
What does that do, Tony? That sounds like sugar water to me.
Yeah, it is sugar water, because in nature there's sugar.
Yes.
If you go into the woods, everything in the canopy at one time or another blooms. You may not always see it. It may be something as small as a pinhead, but every plant blooms, and that bloom is sugar, and it eventually finds its way to the ground. That's what activates the dead carbon on the soil, and helps turn, along with rains, helps turn it into humus, which makes all the life in the soil come up to feed off of it. So.
Okay. So sugar water.
Yep.
And what proportions for that did you say? The water in the molasses.
Oh, but it doesn't take but about 2 ounces per gallon.
Okay, gotcha.
Blackstrap molasses, which you can buy at Allen's,
My mother used to give me that at home.
And of course, you can, with armadillos, you can cage and release. You can do that. The caging is the easy part. The release is wear.
Not maybe a neighbor that you're not really
John's
fond of.
John's house. for
John
exa-
Nuttall's house.
Right,
Should we take him
go
over
to John
there?
Nuttall's.
Okay.
And so, but and lead poisoning works good if you want to get up at 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning on armadillos. If you want to go there, but you need to alert your neighbors and the authorities that you're going to be doing that. So you don't have a lot of flashing lights in front of your house at 3 o'clock in the morning.
That's right.
So anyway,
What's the next thing?
Oh, okay. Next thing that was slugs and snails. So, and they were slugs and snails. A lot of them said they were getting underneath their chewing on their hostas and eating their hosta leaves, putting holes in them and all that. So, believe it or not, if you're lucky enough to have a sweet gum tree, you know those sweet gum
Yes,
balls? It's got
yes.
the little spiky things on them. Well, if you'll collect those and put them underneath the foliage of your hostas, your snails and slugs won't crawl on that because it tears them up,
Okay.
right? Or you can get the red lava rock,
Yes.
you know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Okay. And do the same thing. That tears them up. It'd be like if you crawled over a coral reef.
Oh, yes,
Yeah,
you're
if
right.
you've ever been scuba diving. Okay.
Yes.
Also, you can put beer in a jar lid and set it under there, and they get in there and they
And they have a party and they
and
pass
they have
out.
a party, they pass out. Diatomaceous earth works good, on them. Garlic pepper tea, so you make a tea out of garlic and jalapeno peppers or any really hot pepper. And cedar flakes helps repel them too. You can do
Really?
that. But for long term, where you don't have to go back and constantly reapply it, my favorite is the red lava rock.
And that is kind of pretty too. It's kind of a decorative
well,
rock.
and you're going to do it under the
Right.
under the foliage, so
Right.
you're not going to really see a lot unless you want to, because So anyway,
Okay.
that's how we take care of that problem with those little boogers.
I tell you. Well, what else we got? We got time for
we
one
got-
more before the break, and then we'll
Well, deer,
continue.
the
those
deer are
deer.
chewing me up. I was hearing that last night at our Master Gardener meeting. I use a lot of 100-pound fishing line.
Line.
Yeah, fishing line.
Yeah.
Okay, 100-pound line, the clear one. I string it from tree to tree to tree, or in some cases where I've got some prized daylilies, I use T-post and stretch that monofilament line. They can't see it, and when they hit it, it startles them, and if anybody's ever tried just breaking it with their hand, they realize it takes a lot, and they don't go any further. That works really well. Irish Spring soap around,
Yes, shave it
the
and-
shaving, but they get used to that. The deer get used to things really fast,
Now, this is a little weird, but I've also heard that urine works, human
Yeah,
urine.
yeah, that and a lot of coyote urine, fox urine, stuff like that. There's a lot of different smelly things that you can do. I mean, there's dozens of stinky, smelly things with egg whites and God knows what all. Sound devices work, high frequency things that detect movement and they come on. I had my father-in-law one time was in an area where they didn't allow fences. He had beautiful vegetable gardens, and his okra plants were all over 6 foot tall. He went out in the morning, they were about that tall.
Oh, yeah.
The batteries went out on his tower with the ultrasound that hurts their ears, and they cleaned it. I met a guy that produces okra up here in Northwest Arkansas for Walmart, and he has something like 300 acres in okra, and he puts boom boxes out in the fields, and he found a radio station up here that plays has an extremely varied repertoire of from country to classical music to talk shows to comedy to a variety of things, and it's that changing of the sounds, because like I said, deer get used to things really fast.
What about motion lights? Does that work at all? The light comes on if you.
I've gone out at night and thought I spotted deer trying to get through my gates and through my line, and flipped on the lights, and they just stood there and looked at me.
Oh,
So
okay. Never mind.
I don't know.
All right, well, let's take a quick break.
Good idea.
And then we'll be right back because, you haven't really talked about chemicals at all. Just stuff you have.
Don't need them.
Don't need them. We'll be right back. Okay, well, let's continue that talk, Tony. What else have we got to talk about today?
Well, number 5 on the list was aphids, was the big concern.
Oh, I hate those things.
And that's what we have a solution for everything.
Yes.
The easiest, fastest thing to do with aphids is hit them with a very powerful blast of water. They have very, very tender little mouths, and if you have some kind of a nozzle that will put out a really fine, thin spray, full force, and you hit that plant, it'll just rip them to pieces. That's usually the number one first thing to go to.
Drown
It's
them.
quick and fast and easy. Well, it tears them up.
Okay.
Next best thing is release ladybugs. You can get again from Arbico. You can get a nice ice cream container full of ladybugs. You release them late in the evening, just before it gets dark, and you want to wet the plant first because they're very thirsty. They've been in freight for how many days?
Yeah.
Coming from Arizona, and so they're thirsty, and they don't fly at night. So when you go back in the morning, you'll find there are no aphids. They will clean that plant.
Okay.
So you want to try to build up that. Green lacewings is another predator, a beneficial insect. Bicarbonate for wasp, and garlic pepper tea. You can make a tea out of garlic and pepper again, and that burns them, and repels them and does them. But usually the water blast and the ladybug. Well, I'm talking about ladybugs. There are predators, like all animals. Insects are animals too, whether they're soil bound or above ground, or they're flying in the sky. There's predatory animals and there's precautionary animals. And the predatories help balance the populations, and their job in nature is to take out the weak species. That's why wolves go after the weak buffalo. They sit and study the herds. They take the weak one out. That same thing happens in the insect world. And one of the jobs of a lot of beneficial insects is to get rid of your predatory insects. And the predatory insects, their job is to take out weak plants.
Gotcha.
Case in point, one time, I'm looking at Target right here in our own town, right in Rogers, Arkansas, and behind Target is a big long retaining wall. And they planted the same shrub. Must have been 40, 50 shrubs all in a row, all exactly the same. And I pulled up one day and I noticed one of the shrubs was dying. So I got in my car and I walked up. Well, that one shrub was full of spider mites. Okay? But none of the other shrubs had spider mites in them. Well, right away that tells me that's a horticultural problem. I guarantee you that during construction, some toxic chemicals down in that ground, that guy with that front end loader pushing that dirt around or whatever, So that plant was affected. You couldn't tell it above ground, but below ground things were happening. And so the spider mites came to take out that plant.
Wow.
You follow what I'm saying? Well, there's also, in addition to them, then there are insects that will take out spider mites. Okay?
It's all a big ecosystem.
Right. I had a pecan tree once. I was getting 50 pounds a year in paper shell pecans in Texas, dropped down to 5 pounds. The case borer worm was getting into the pecan, drilling a hole, ruined them. Okay? And I went to Arbico. I ordered trichogramma wasp. They came on a little card, tacked them up in the tree. They hatched. Okay? And when that little worm, before he could bore into that pecan, the wasp went in and stung him, and now I didn't have to spray a 40-foot tall tree and get half of it all over me and wear a rain suit or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, the wasp did the job. My production came back to 50 pounds a year.
That is amazing.
So there are natural ways to do things.
Everything.
Correct.
What we're getting close to the end here. So what else we got going that we need to tell people about today?
Well, you know, yellow leaves on roses. Again, the cornmeal tea and the milk. Potassium bicarbonate, you can do that also as a spray. Things like ticks and mosquitoes. Again, garlic pepper teas on your lawn. BT or Balanthus therin glycine.
It's easier to say BT.
Everybody just calls it BT.
Yep.
They all know what you're talking about. Or dry granulated garlic. You're going to have a great big party. You can go out on your landscape, on your lawn where people are going to be, and just get that big container at Sam's Club of granulated garlic. It's cheap, and spread it out there. And in one day, that smell is gone, but the mosquitoes still smell it. So that'll work. What else? Another thing, in stagnant water for mosquitoes, one thing you can add to standing water that may be in pots or trays or old tires or whatever you may have where there's standing water, instant coffee, believe it or not, granules, or garlic oil. Will get rid of that larvae. And you want to go to the last one?
You know what? Tony told me earlier he has one secret ingredient. It's one secret method or whatever. Let's do a big reveal. What is it?
Well, the big reveal is, because we don't have time for that,
Yep.
it all boils down to soil health.
Okay.
If you have healthy soil, you have healthy plants. And now you don't have predatory insects. And now you don't have disease problems. I get emails all the time from people about this problem, that problem, the other. And sometimes I go to their houses, and the problem is in the soil. It's kind of like the human body. You know, if you're in really good shape physically, your immune system is higher, and you're less likely to get a disease.
Right.
You
Right.
know. And the stronger you are, the better off you can ward off a predator. So it all starts with the health of the soil, and I can't stress that enough. So getting soil tests, which is free in Arkansas, which is wonderful, and seeing no point spending money on things you don't need. Spend money on things that the soil is begging for. Find out what those things are. And when you get your soil test back in the mail, go and buy those products, incorporate them in your soil. But just remember that the real secret, just while you're waiting for all that stuff to happen, is, keep adding carbon to the soil. Keep adding carbon to the soil. Keep adding carbon to the soil.
You know what? I think you need to come back and we'll do a whole show on soil. Later, okay?
Yeah,
But
soil
now-
science is a whole...
Soil science, that's right. And I know you're good because I've heard you do it
That's
before.
where it all starts.
So we've just got a few minutes left. Let's talk about if you're in two really good websites. We have the Master Gardeners, the Benton County Master Gardeners. There's all kinds of great information about everything there. Maybe on there we go. See, right there.
Right.
Also, the Bella Vista Garden Club has a great website.
That's right.
The University of Arkansas does a lot of things. There's a link on there for the Master Gardeners things. And just, a lot of it's trial and error, isn't it? You do that. Now, very quickly, there's not a lot to do in August in your garden, right? Other than water and deadhead. Isn't that about it?
Pretty much it in August.
Yeah, yeah. I guess if you, now, do you grow veggies? I can't remember.
Yes.
Okay. Well, are you going to do any cold weather or fall plantings at all?
No.
Okay.
No.
I may, because there's other things you could plant later, not quite yet. That could come up. But what else? What do you do in your yard in August other than just?
Well, you pretty much said it. Just keep it clean, deadhead, and fertilize. Continue my fertilization program and water.
Pretty much.
Pretty much.
I haven't seen a lot of bagworms or webworms this year. Have you, for the trees?
Only on the arbor varieties. But if you get out in front of it, the last half of February or the early part of March, with a systemic drench underneath, usually you won't have that problem. As the plant is starting to take up nutrients for the spring, and it's from the roots, it's sending it up to the plant for new growth and everything. If you use a systemic, that'll pretty much ward off those little critters.
And if you see the bag up there, it's my understanding if you break that, then the wasps come in and take care of
Right.
the
Yeah.
bag.
Wasps are beneficial in a garden.
They are.
Yeah.
And they're beneficial until they sting you, and then they're not.
Yeah.
So, but they're not going to bother you if you don't bother them.
No. Well, if I had a friend once, if there was a nest over the door where he went in and out of the house, he would hit it with water because that doesn't kill them. They would just fall to the ground, and then he'd take their nest out and he'd move it down a few feet on the house and tack it back
Oh
up.
no! Okay.
Because they go after those caterpillars that do a lot of damage in a garden.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Anything else we'd like to tell people today? If you're interested in becoming a master gardener, again, you can go to the Benton County Master Gardener website. There's a class starting again in October, so you can sign up there. Really good stuff. Do you teach any of those classes at all? You have in the past.
I have in the past.
Yeah.
Yeah, I taught the introduction to organic gardening, which I call the natural way.
The natural
Yeah,
way.
I don't call it organic. But I did it for several years.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, what would you like to say to everybody? Not your final
Well,
words.
some
but
other things that you were talking about, the websites,
Yes.
like Master Gardener's website
yes.
and Bella Vista Garden Club's website. A couple of other websites I want to tell you about. One is dirtdoctor.com.
Okay.
And when you go to dirtdoctor.com, on the home page, go to library. In library, you'll see the alphabet. So if it's black spot on roses, just go to B and scroll down, and you'll see a show that he syndicated in about 80 radio stations across America. Has written several books. Dr. Howard Garrett.
Okay.
He was landscape architect to the stars once, and he went all natural 4 years after me. So I always tease him about what took him so long when I say, But anyway, that's one. And the people at Arbico, again, the biological controls. There's like a thing called an assassin bug, for example.
And they're so cool looking.
Yeah, they're cool look. You want them in your vegetable garden, they go after every bug that even looks at your garden. If you have a population of assassin bugs in your vegetable garden, commercial growers order them by the tens of thousands from these people. But what I like about them is when you call them on the phone, you have a master degree person on the phone that you can explain your problem, and they can tell you exactly that's how I found the trichogramma wasp when I was just a newlywed with my 50 pounds a year pecan tree. And they said, "You need trichogramma wasp." I went, "Huh?"
You're an amazing person, Tony, because even though you did fashion for a living, you've always enjoyed plants, haven't you?
Yeah, it must be my roots, being, my dad was from Sicily, and my grandparents were from Sicily, and it just must be genetic. I don't know. But and having been indoors so many years,
Yeah.
That when I retired from that industry, I've backpacked over half the world in some extremely remote areas, climbed lots of mountains, and got involved in all this, this whole gardening world and raising food and raising beautiful flowers.
Mm-hmm.
Who doesn't like beautiful flowers?
But you're also a good connoisseur of food. You like food.
Well, of course.
All right. Well, hey, Tony, it's always a pleasure.
Well, it's fun.
Yeah, and we will do this again with a different subject, maybe sometime next year. But until
Sounds good.
then, thanks again. Go and check out the Benton County Master Gardeners and the
Yes.
Bella Vista Garden Club. We always like guests. Come see us. Thank you. We'll see you next month for the Garden Show.